Professor Huijin stood at the university's landing pad, watching the alien ship descend from the morning sky. The sleek vessel moved slowly, clearly struggling with Earth's gravity. He smiled, knowing this would be just the first of many surprises for his new students. The ship was painted in the bright colors of the Galactic Academic Alliance, an organization that promoted education across the known universe. As the vessel touched down, its metal surface creaked under Earth's gravitational pull. The sound made Huijin remember his own first trip to a low-gravity world, where he had felt like he could fly with each step. "Everything is ready, Professor," said Dr. Kita, walking up beside him. The younger scientist had spent weeks preparing the special quarters for their alien visitors. "Though I still think we should have started with something simpler than a full semester program. Sometimes the deep end of the pool is the best place to learn to swim," Huijin replied, then quickly added, "Though I should probably avoid water-related expressions today." The ship's door opened with a soft hiss. The first student to emerge was Dalry, a tall, blue-skinned being from the paradise world of Meadowlight. Like all her people, she had 4 arms and moved with natural grace, at least until she took her first step onto Earth. Her legs buckled slightly, and her face showed surprise as she felt the full force of Earth's gravity. Behind her came Taimu, a crystalline being who sparkled in the morning sun. His normal floating movement became an awkward walk as he adjusted to the heavy gravitational pull. The last 2 students, Yunha and Raka, were twins from the garden worlds, with green-tinted skin that could photosynthesize light. They held on to each other as they made their way down the ramp. "Welcome to Seoul National University," Huijin said, speaking clearly into his universal translator. "And welcome to Earth." "Professor," Dalry said, her voice slightly strained from the effort of standing straight. "Your world. It's so heavy." "You'll adjust," Kita assured them. "We've prepared special gravity-adjusted rooms for your comfort. But part of your education here will include gradually adapting to our normal gravity." The aliens looked at each other nervously. They had all grown up hearing stories about Earth, the infamous Deathworld. Their home planets were paradise worlds, places where the weather was always perfect, where there were no predators, and where even the plants were harmless. Earth, with its earthquakes, storms, and countless dangerous species, was considered one of the most extreme inhabited planets in the galaxy. A rumble filled the air, and the alien students huddled together in fear. Huijin quickly realized what had startled them. It was just a passenger airplane taking off from the nearby airport. To him, it was background noise, but to them, it was another reminder of how humans had mastered their dangerous world. "That reminds me," Huijin said, checking his tablet. "We should head inside soon. The weather forecast shows rain this afternoon." The word rain caused visible panic among the students. On their worlds, the idea of water falling from the sky was unthinkable. Acid rain was common on some planets, but pure water, the kind that fell on Earth, was considered a powerful solvent in much of the galaxy. As they walked toward the university buildings, Huijin noticed the students staring at a group of human students playing basketball outdoors. The aliens watched in amazement as the humans jumped, ran, and moved with ease under the crushing gravity they were struggling with. "Those humans," Tamu whispered, his crystalline form reflecting sunlight, "they move as if they don't even feel the gravity. And they're exposing themselves to direct sunlight." "That's just physical education class," Ketat explained, "a normal part of human education." The alien students exchanged looks of disbelief. If this was just a normal day on Earth, what other surprises awaited them? As they reached the building's entrance, Huijin smiled to himself. This was going to be an interesting semester, teaching these students about life on what the galaxy called a Deathworld, but what humans simply called home. The first class of the day was in Laboratory Room 103. Dr. Kita watched as the alien students struggled to lift their tablets and equipment. What would normally weigh a few grams on their homeworlds felt like heavy weights on Earth. "Perhaps we should start with something basic," Kita said, holding up a clear glass of water. This is one of Earth's most common compounds. Dalry moved back in her seat, her blue skin turning a pale shade. That's pure dihydrogen monoxide. Isn't it dangerous to have it so close? On Earth, we call it water, Kita explained. Not only is it safe, but humans need it to live. We drink it every day. The aliens watched in horror as Kita lifted the glass to his lips and took a sip. Taimu's crystalline form vibrated with anxiety, creating a soft chiming sound. The twins, Yunha and Raka, held their hands over their mouths in shock. You drink it? Raka asked, her green skin darkening with stress. But it's a universal solvent. It breaks down so many compounds. That's exactly why we need it, came a voice from the door. Professor Hejin walked in, carrying more glasses of water. Our bodies use water to break down food and carry nutrients. Would anyone like to try some? The alien students looked at each other nervously. Finally, Dalry raised one of her 4 hands. I will try. For science. Hejin handed her a small cup with just a few drops of water. Dalry's hands shook as she lifted it. The other students watched closely as she touched the liquid to her tongue. Her eyes widened in surprise. It doesn't burn, she exclaimed. It feels cool. Before anyone could respond, a low rumble shook the building. The aliens grabbed their desks in panic. Outside, human students continued walking to their classes, completely unbothered by the minor tremor. What was that? Tanmu asked, his crystal body still vibrating from fear. Just a small earthquake, Hejin said calmly. About 3.0 on the Richter scale. Quite common here. You mean your planet regularly tries to shake itself apart, and you just accept it? Yunha asked in disbelief. A crack of thunder made them jump again. Rain had started falling outside, pattering against the windows. The alien students watched in amazement as humans outside simply opened umbrellas or ran between buildings, treating the falling water as nothing more than a minor inconvenience. Look at them, Dalry whispered. They don't even fear the water falling from the sky, and their bodies are strong enough to run in this gravity. Keita walked to the window and opened it slightly. The fresh smell of rain filled the room, making the alien students nervous again. A cool breeze carried a few drops inside. On Earth, Hejin explained, these conditions are what we call mild weather. In fact, many humans find the sound of rain relaxing. Some even sleep better when it rains. Sleep during an active water bombardment. Tanmu's crystal surface reflected the lightning outside, creating beautiful patterns on the walls. How do humans ever feel safe? Hejin smiled and pulled up a weather forecast on the main screen. If you think this is interesting, wait until you learn about snow. In a few months, frozen water will fall from the sky, and humans will go outside to play in it. The alien students stared at him in silence, trying to process this information. On their worlds, such conditions would be considered apocalyptic. Yet here were humans, not just surviving but thriving in what they saw as pleasant weather. I think, Dalry said slowly, taking another careful sip of water, we have much to learn about what makes a world truly dangerous. Perhaps our definition of Deathworld needs some revision. The rain had stopped, and sunlight broke through the clouds as a young human student named Jiho waited at the laboratory entrance. Professor Hejin had asked him to show the alien students around the campus, thinking that learning from a fellow student might help them feel more comfortable. The sun is very bright here, Tanmu said, his crystal body sparkling in the light. Don't humans need protective shields? Jiho laughed softly. We just use sunscreen if we're going to be outside for a long time. Some people carry umbrellas for shade, but most of us are fine with direct sunlight. They walked slowly, keeping pace with the aliens who were still getting used to Earth's gravity. As they passed the university cafeteria, strange smells made the alien students stop. What is that strong smell? Dalry asked, all four of her arms covering where a human nose would be. "That's kimchi," Jaiho explained. "It's fermented cabbage with spices. Would you like to try some?" The aliens watched in amazement as students inside the cafeteria ate various foods. Some were drinking hot soup, others were eating spicy dishes, and a few were enjoying ice cream. "Your species consumes things at both extreme hot and cold temperatures?" Yunha asked, her green skin turning lighter with surprise. "In the same meal?" "Sure," Jaiho said. "Watch this." He bought an iced coffee and took a long drink. The aliens gasped as he showed no signs of distress from the cold liquid. They continued their walk, passing by the sports field where the university's soccer team was practicing. The alien students stopped again, watching in wonder as humans ran, jumped, and kicked the ball with incredible force. "How can they move so fast in this gravity?" Raka asked, holding onto her twin sister for support. "They're using so much energy." "That's just regular practice," Jaiho said. "Wait until you see a real game. They run much faster then." A soccer ball rolled near them, and one of the players jogged over to retrieve it. The aliens watched in amazement as the human easily lifted the ball with one foot, bounced it on his knee, and kicked it back to the field. "The strength needed to do that," Dalry muttered. "On my world, it would take machinery to move an object that heavy with such control." Their tour took them past the science buildings, where they saw students carrying heavy backpacks filled with books and equipment. The aliens had been given special anti-gravity devices for their own bags, but human students carried their full weight without complaint. "Don't their backs hurt?" Tanmu asked, his crystal surface reflecting the sunlight in patterns of concern. "You get used to it," Jaiho said. "Most of us have been carrying bags like this since we were children." They reached the university garden, where students were sitting on benches, studying, or chatting. Some lay directly on the grass, reading books or napping in the sun. "They sleep outside?" Yunha asked in disbelief. "Exposed to the elements. What about predators?" Jaiho tried not to smile too much at their concern. "The most dangerous thing in this garden is probably a bee, and they only sting if you bother them." "What's a bee?" All four aliens asked at once. "Small flying insects that make honey," Jaiho explained. "They're actually very important for our ecosystem." The aliens looked at each other in shock. On their worlds, flying venomous creatures would cause immediate evacuation of the area. Yet here were humans, peacefully coexisting with such beings. As they finished their tour, Jaiho noticed the alien students walking a bit more steadily. They were already starting to adapt to Earth's gravity, even if they didn't realize it yet. Maybe that was the biggest difference between humans and their species. Humans didn't just survive in harsh conditions, they adapted and thrived in them. Professor He-jin was explaining Earth's plate tectonics to his alien students when the first tremor shook the classroom. The lights swayed gently, and a few pens rolled off desks. The alien students froze in terror, but the human students merely glanced up at the moving lights and continued taking notes. "As I was saying," He-jin continued calmly, "Earth's crust is always moving, which sometimes causes—" A stronger shake interrupted him. The building trembled, and the distant sound of car alarms filled the air. Dalry's blue skin turned almost white with fear, while Taimu's crystalline form vibrated in harmony with the tremors. "Emergency protocols are in effect," announced a calm voice over the speakers. "This is a 5.0 magnitude earthquake. Please follow standard safety procedures." The human students moved with practiced ease, getting under their desks or moving to stand in doorways. They had done this many times before in drills, but the alien students remained frozen in place, watching in disbelief as their classmates treated this planetary disturbance as a minor interruption. "The planet is breaking apart," Raka cried, clutching her twin sister. "We need to evacuate." "Actually," said Dr. Kita, who had just entered the room, "this is quite mild. The building is designed to handle much stronger quakes. Would anyone like some water while we wait?" The casual offer of refreshments during what they considered a planetary disaster made the alien students stare in shock. A human student named Minji even pulled out her phone and started showing cat videos to Dalri, trying to help her stay calm. "Your structures," Tanmu said, his crystal voice chiming with amazement. "They move with the earth shakes." "Yes," Hajin explained, pulling up a diagram on the classroom screen. "Our buildings are designed to flex and sway. It's safer than making them completely rigid. The same way a tree bends in the wind instead of breaking." The tremors continued for several minutes. During this time, the human students chatted quietly among themselves, shared snacks, and some even continued their note-taking. One student complained that the Wi-Fi was slightly slower than usual, treating that as a bigger problem than the earthquake itself. "Look at their vital signs," Yunho whispered to her sister, using her species' natural ability to sense biological responses. "Their stress levels are barely elevated. How is this possible?" The twins watched as a group of human students debated whether the earthquake was strong enough to cancel their upcoming physics test. Another student was upset because the shaking had spilled her coffee, but showed no concern about the earthquake itself. When the tremors finally stopped, the speakers announced the all clear. Human students casually returned to their seats, some looking almost disappointed that the excitement was over. "Now then," Heijin said, straightening his slightly crooked tie, "this was an excellent practical demonstration of what we were discussing. Would anyone like to share their observations about how humans have adapted to tectonic activity?" Dalri slowly raised one of her 4 hands. They don't just survive these events. They have made them normal. They build their world expecting it to move." "Exactly," Kita nodded. "Humans don't just react to their environment. They prepare for it, adapt to it, and continue living their lives regardless of it. That's why Earth being called a death world has always amused us. We don't see it as fighting for survival. This is simply our home." As the class resumed, the alien students noticed something had changed. The gravity hadn't become any lighter, but somehow it felt less oppressive. Perhaps they were beginning to understand that what made humans remarkable wasn't their strength or resilience, but their ability to make the impossible seem ordinary. The university's advanced chemistry laboratory was filled with the soft hum of equipment when teaching assistant Sunmai began the afternoon's practical session. She moved with confidence among the various instruments, setting up demonstrations for both human and alien students. "Today, we'll be working with common Earth compounds," Sunmai explained, adjusting her safety goggles. "Everyone please check that your protective equipment is properly fitted." The alien students carefully put on their specialized safety gear, which included additional layers of protection that the humans didn't need. Dalri's 4 arms made putting on the lab coat a bit challenging, while Tanmu's crystalline form required special covering to prevent unwanted light refraction. "The solutions we're working with today are very basic by Earth standards," Sunmai continued, holding up a beaker. "Just a simple acid-base reaction demonstration." As she walked between the laboratory benches, checking each student's setup, a human student accidentally bumped into her. The beaker in her hand tilted, spilling some of its contents onto her lab coat sleeve. The alien students screamed in horror. On their worlds, even mild acids could dissolve organic matter in seconds. They expected to see Sunmai's arm dissolving before their eyes. Instead, she calmly walked to the safety shower, removed her lab coat, and rinsed the affected area. "No harm done," she said with a smile. "This is why we wear protective equipment and follow safety protocols." But that was acid," Dalri exclaimed, all 4 hands trembling. "How is your external layer not compromised?" "Human skin is remarkably resistant," Dr. Ketat explained, entering the lab after hearing the commotion. "And our bodies can heal from minor chemical exposure quite effectively." The aliens watched in fascination as Sunmai returned to her demonstration, her skin showing only slight redness where the acid had touched it. She explained that it would heal completely in a day or 2, treating what seemed to them like a deadly injury as if it were a minor inconvenience. Humans evolved on a planet where acid rain occasionally falls from the sky. Kita continued. Our bodies had to develop strong defenses against chemical damage. Yunha and Raka, the twins, used their natural ability to sense biological processes to examine Sunmei. Her healing has already begun, Yunha reported with amazement. The damaged cells are being replaced at an incredible rate. That's normal for humans, Sunmei said, checking the next set of experiments. We're constantly replacing damaged cells. It's one of the ways we adapt to Earth's conditions. As the practical session continued, the alien students noticed how the human students handled various chemicals with careful respect, but without fear. They had evolved alongside these substances, developed natural defenses against them, and learned to use them as tools rather than viewing them as threats. On our world, Tanmu said, his crystal form reflecting the laboratory lights, we need special containment fields to handle substances like these. But humans just wear thin layers of protective clothing and trust their bodies to resist damage. It's not just resistance, Dr. Ketat explained. Human bodies are constantly fighting against damage from their environment. Even now, all these students' bodies are repairing radiation damage from sunlight, fighting off millions of microscopic invaders, and maintaining balance despite exposure to countless environmental challenges. The alien students looked at their human classmates with new understanding. What they had first seen as reckless behavior was actually profound adaptation. Humans weren't just surviving in their harsh world. They had evolved to become as resilient as their planet. Professor He Jin stood at the entrance of Bukhansan National Park, watching as his alien students stared at the mountain rising before them. The morning sun cast long shadows across the rocky slopes, and hiking groups were already making their way up the marked trails. You want us to go up there? Dalry asked, all four of her arms pointing at the mountain. Voluntarily. It's one of Seoul's most popular recreational activities, He-jin explained. Thousands of humans climb these mountains every week for enjoyment. The alien students had made progress in adapting to Earth's gravity over the past few weeks, but the thought of climbing a mountain seemed impossible to them. They watched as elderly human hikers walked past them, carrying backpacks and talking cheerfully about the weather. Those elderly humans, Tanmu observed, his crystal form glinting in the sunlight, they are choosing to work against gravity for entertainment. At their age doesn't stop most humans from staying active, Dr. Kita said, adjusting his hiking boots. In fact, regular exercise helps humans stay healthy longer. As they began their hike, following an easy trail, the aliens noticed how the human students moved with confidence over the uneven ground. The twins, Yunha and Raka, used their natural sensing abilities to monitor the humans' biological responses. Their muscles are working hard, Yunha reported, but their bodies are efficiently managing the strain. They seem to be enjoying this. Halfway up the trail, they heard a sharp cry for help. A human hiker had slipped on some loose rocks and injured their ankle. The alien students expected to see panic and emergency evacuations. Instead, they witnessed something remarkable. Nearby hikers immediately organized themselves. Some provided first aid, others called the park rangers, and a group worked together to help the injured person stay comfortable. Within minutes, a rescue team arrived with proper medical equipment. The efficiency, Dalry whispered, watching the humans work together. They treat dangerous situations like a normal part of life. Because for us, they are, Sunmai explained, having joined them for the field trip. Humans face risks every day. We've learned to handle emergencies calmly and help each other. As they continued their hike, the weather began to change. Dark clouds gathered, and the temperature dropped. The alien students expected the humans to turn back, but instead, they simply put on rain jackets and continued climbing. You still go up even when the weather turns dangerous? Taimu asked, his crystalline body vibrating with concern. This isn't dangerous weather, He Jin smiled. It's just a light storm. As long as there's no lightning, it's safe to continue. The rain started falling, making the trail slippery. The human students adjusted their walking style, moving more carefully but still progressing steadily upward. The aliens watched in amazement as humans of all ages continued their hikes, some even saying they enjoyed hiking in the rain. When they finally reached a viewing point, the alien students were exhausted but proud. They had climbed higher than they ever thought possible in Earth's gravity. The view of Seoul spread out below them, buildings peeking through clouds, showed them Earth's beauty alongside its challenges. "I think I understand now," Dalry said, using all four arms to steady herself as she admired the view. Humans don't just survive in harsh conditions. They find ways to appreciate them, to turn challenges into achievements. And they do it together, Raka added, watching more hiking groups arrive at the viewpoint, sharing food and taking pictures. They make difficult things easier by helping each other. The university's main square had transformed into a vibrant display of Earth's cultures for the international festival. Colorful banners hung between buildings, and the air filled with music and cooking, smells from different regions of the planet. The alien students followed Dr. Kita through the crowds, amazed by the variety of human activities. Each region has different foods, music, and traditions, Ketat explained, leading them past various stalls. Humans adapt to different environments by developing unique cultural practices. They stopped at a Korean food stall where a cooking demonstration was taking place. The chef was preparing a traditional spicy dish, and the flames from the cooking station rose high into the air. The alien students stepped back in alarm. They deliberately heat their food with fire, Dalry asked, her blue skin paling at the sight, and add irritant compounds to it. "We call those irritants spices," Sunmai said, joining the group. She picked up a small piece of kimchi with chopsticks and ate it. They make the food taste better, and many spices help preserve food or provide health benefits. The aliens watched in fascination as humans eagerly lined up to try foods that would be considered dangerous on their worlds. Some dishes were extremely hot in temperature, others were very cold, and many contained compounds that would be toxic to their species. Tanmu's crystalline form reflected the festival lights as he observed a group of humans performing a traditional dance. Their movements are so precise, even in this gravity, and they maintain these complex cultural practices while surviving in such harsh conditions. "Culture isn't just about survival," Heijin said, appearing with a plate of various foods for the human students. "It's about finding joy and meaning in life, no matter the circumstances." The twins, Yunha and Raka, used their sensing abilities to study the human crowds. They were amazed by the range of emotional responses they detected: happiness, excitement, curiosity, and even occasional frustration when popular food stalls ran out of items. "Their emotional capacity is remarkable," Yunha noted. "They experience such strong feelings, yet remain in control of them." A sudden burst of loud music made the alien students jump. A group had started playing traditional drums, the powerful sounds echoing across the square. Instead of causing panic, the loud noise drew more humans to watch the performance. "On our worlds," Dalry said, "we carefully control all environmental factors to maintain calm. But humans seem to thrive on variety and intensity." They passed a dessert stall where humans were eating ice cream while standing in the warm sun. Nearby, others were drinking hot tea despite the afternoon heat. The aliens had learned that humans could handle extreme temperature variations that would be fatal to most species. "Every human here has different preferences," Ketet explained. "Some enjoy spicy food, others prefer mild flavors. Some like loud music, others seek quiet. This diversity makes our species stronger." The festival continued into the evening, and the alien students noticed they felt more comfortable in the crowd than they expected. The gravity still felt heavy, but they had grown stronger. The sounds and smells that once seemed overwhelming now felt interesting and exciting. "I think I understand now," Dalry said, watching children play traditional games nearby. What makes humans remarkable isn't just their physical adaptations. It's their ability to create beauty and meaning in conditions that other species consider hostile. Yes, He Jin smiled. That's exactly it. We don't just exist in this environment. We celebrate life in all its forms, even the challenging ones. The Great Hall of the Galactic Academic Alliance was silent as Dalry stepped up to the presentation platform. Her blue skin had darkened with confidence during her time on Earth, and she now moved with grace despite the artificial gravity. Behind her, her fellow exchange students waited their turn to share their findings about Earth. Honored members of the Alliance, Dalry began, her voice clear and strong. We came to Earth believing it was a death world. We were wrong. Earth is not a death world. It is a crucible of evolution. The images she displayed showed everyday scenes from their time at Seoul National University. Students studying under open skies, people enjoying spicy food, children playing in the rain, and elderly humans climbing mountains for fun. Humans don't merely survive in these conditions. Tainu added, his crystal form now perfectly steady as he joined Dalry. They have turned their challenges into strengths. Their bodies are constantly fighting against radiation, gravity, and environmental hazards, and winning. The twins, Yunha and Raka, presented their biological data next. Their readings showed how human bodies adapted to different pressures, temperatures, and chemical exposures. The Alliance members murmured in surprise at the findings. A human child, Raka explained, is born with stronger natural defenses than most species develop in their entire lives. Their immune systems fight off millions of invasive organisms every day. Their bones grow stronger in response to Earth's gravity. Their skin can heal from damage that would be fatal to us. Professor He Jin and Dr. Kita sat in the audience, watching proudly as their students presented. The alien students had changed during their time on Earth. They stood taller, moved more confidently, and spoke with deep understanding of human resilience. But perhaps most remarkable, Dalry continued, is not their physical adaptation, but their mental and cultural strength. Humans don't hide from their world's dangers. They study them, prepare for them, and even find ways to enjoy them. The presentation showed images of the cultural festival, the mountain hiking trip, and the earthquake response. Each scene demonstrated how humans had turned potentially dangerous situations into opportunities for community and celebration. We recommend, Tainu announced, that Earth be reclassified. It is not a death world, but rather a cradle of exceptional adaptation. The conditions we feared have created a species that is remarkably resilient, innovative, and compassionate. The Alliance Council members discussed among themselves. One of them finally spoke up. You mean to say that humans find enjoyment in activities we consider life-threatening? Yes, all four student speakers answered together. Dalry continued. They call it adventure. They deliberately seek out challenges to test and improve themselves. Perhaps most importantly, Yunha added, they helped us adapt too. In one Earth semester, we learned to handle gravity that once seemed crushing. We learned to touch water without fear. We learned that challenges can make us stronger. The council chamber filled with discussion. Finally, the head of the Alliance stood. Based on your findings, we will establish new research programs focusing on human adaptability. Their methods of survival and growth could teach us much. After the presentation, Professor He Jin met with his students. You've done more than change how the galaxy sees Earth, he said. You've shown that any species can adapt and grow when they face their fears. Thank you, Professor, Dalry said, using one of her forehands to wipe away a tear. We came to study Earth as a death world, but we're leaving it as our second home.